Subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
And welcome to yet another episode of Daydreamers with Himika. Now, from the time we started this show, we said that it is all about passion. So today's guest is actually all about passion because while he has a very comfortable interior decoration career, which he is heading and doing brilliantly, his first love seems to be martial arts, and so he's gone and not just widely traveled the world, learned the arts, but he's also all set to launch the first Japanese dojo in Bangalore. Something in the field of Kyokushin martial arts, right? So Vinayak Shetty, I'm going to just give the stage to you because I don't know anything about this, but you know everything about it. And since you're launching the first one in India, in the city of Bangalore, I believe a lot of people are going to be interested. So welcome to Daydreamers with Himika.
Thank you, Himika. Thanks for having me.
Lovely.
It's my pleasure.
So tell me something, Vinayak. What is the dojo? What is this concept about? How did you get into it? I mean, for somebody to be in India and launch it while there is not much that's happening in the field in India, what set this going? Please tell us about it.
Yeah, so my story started quite some years ago when I was in school. I was always attracted to martial arts. You know, we had all the craze that Bruce Lee brought, all the flicks, the Shaolin flicks, the Hong Kong flicks, and all of that. So it started from way back then, early 90s to mid 90s. And India, incidentally, is the fountainhead of martial arts, just like it is for so many other things. I'm like, you threw me into the deep end with this question. So I'll have to give you a bit of history about how it all started. And when you say that we're starting a Japanese traditional dojo, of course, there are many dojos in Bangalore and India, but unfortunately, there has been a lot lost in translation. You know, when it started off in Japan, and then somebody from here went there and learned it, and then he taught somebody, and then in transmission we ended up losing the finer details, the attention to detail. So hopefully, my honest attempt with setting this up is to bring in all the experiences that I gathered over the years since maybe 95 when I started my training. And I got a chance to travel all over the world and meet some fantastic teachers who were also students of the great Masuyama, the person who founded Kyokushin Karate. So my objective is to actually bring all that and give Bangalore the platform where people can come in and train. I mean, we're going to sit here and chat in a very candid way, I'm sure. So let's roll.
So, but what is Kyokushin martial arts essentially? How different is it from other martial arts? If you could throw a little light for the viewers to understand.
Yeah, sure. So Kyokushin Karate is a pretty recent contemporary full contact style of martial arts. And it was formed as recently as 1964 by Sosai, who we regard as the founder or grandmaster of this style of karate. And he, in a sense, was the first, real Japanese to put this whole art out there for the world to grab. And by the time he passed away in 1994, he had about 15 million official students under the banner of the Kyokushin organization. So what sets it apart, I would say, is that it's a very simple and direct martial art. It's like anybody can get into the dojo and train even for a period of 1 year and notice a lot of changes in their physical and mental strength, so to speak. And it's a very I use the adjective simple again because it doesn't involve anything fancy to get the results. So it's about that daily grind, sweating it out. There's Sosai always used to say, Sosai when I refer to is Masoyama. Uh, his students always repeated to me that the secret sauce is sweat. So I think in that sort of simplicity lies the answer to what everybody is seeking. Rather than doing something very fancy and jumping all around and using key or whatever to win the fight. There are so many of these things which are available today. But if you see the way the Kyokushin fighter approaches the fight, it's going to be a simple combination. It's going to be a 1-2 punch and a low kick, and he can just take it to his side just with a simple combination like that. So to get to that stage, we obviously train hard. There's a lot of physical conditioning, and we try to develop what is known as the spirit of never giving up, which is in the Japanese word os. So it's a very interesting world. And if you ever got a chance to go to Japan, you'll understand that first of all, Japan is a world inside a world. It's a bit, the culture is beautiful and it's very different, alien to anything else you might have experienced. But when you go, like I got a few opportunities to go to Japan and train. When you go there and understand what it is to actually step into a Kyokushin dojo in Japan, then that's the sweetness of it, which I cannot explain in words, and it has to be experienced. So it begins with the core values, which is also prevalent in Indian culture. We've got the samurai, so to speak, the budo. The actual meaning of the Japanese word budo is the military way. So Kyokushin karate is very much built on the principle of budo. In a nutshell, Kyokushin karate was the first mixed martial art, so to speak, because Masoyama came from a background of stand-up fighting, which was Shotokan karate and Goju-ryu, and he was also a fourth dan in judo. So he used to have a lot of throwing techniques and submission techniques, and so that was the foundation. And if you see today, Kyokushin it's recognized as a stand-up style, but still a lot of the fighters in the UFC or MMA, they have some sort of connection with Kyokushin karate. They believe in what it gave them as a foundation. So in today's context of everyone jumping, to be part of the whole UFC and mixed martial arts experience, I would say that Kyokushin is a very good way to get into conditioning your body and building up your physical and mental stamina. And of course, we don't play as much a big emphasis on the ground fighting, but I think over the years we have recognized that it's very important to be able to defend yourself on the ground. And I would say that my effort this time with the space which we've called the dojo is to ensure that whoever comes in is able to defend himself and understand martial arts holistically, as a stand-up style of fighting, as a submission style of fighting, because we also have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is being taught by a very adept Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner who's won several medals on the international scene. So Kyokushin, as I was telling you, is all about power, raw power. It's raw. It's in your face. There's no hiding anything or trying to sound like something mystical or something which has to be like it's not a riddle. It's out there. So as I said, it's the simple combination, but it's going to give you the victory every time.
Sounds wonderful. So now, since we mentioned so much about what the dojo will comprise, tell me about the experience that people will have when they enroll in for adults and for children. I believe that you will be having exercise sets for all age groups. So could you tell us more about them?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll just try to take a step back and give you a little bit of background about what the dojo actually is. So traditionally, the word dojo, do in Japanese represents a path or the way. So it applies not just to martial arts, but any art form, so to speak. So in Japanese tradition, you have something as simple as making tea, which is known as cha do, or calligraphy, or any of the martial arts that we know, whether it's aikido, karate do, judo. So the do actually represents a path. Now, path for what? It's just a path for self-improvement and reconciliation. So in the traditional scheme of things, there was a lot of training outdoors, there was training indoors, there was a feeling of being connected with something larger, which is within you, which actually will ring a bell with a lot of our Indian concepts in terms of spirituality. So at the heart of it, I would say that the dojo is a spiritual place where we want to immerse ourselves for training. And this word dojo has also been adopted today in software development, where you have a term known as dojo, which is where software engineers would go in and just lock themselves up for a few weeks for training in the agile principles of software development. So this is the same precept which I wanted to create in Bangalore and have it as a very traditional space. At the same time, we are well experienced athletes. We want to use all the functional training knowledge that we have to give that good fusion between the old and the new, right? And if the art form has to survive the generations of time, then at some point someone has to stand up and have that interaction with the next generation to pass it on. So I think at this point, having spent around 25 years training in Kyokushin karate, I felt that I was mentally and physically ready for this responsibility given to me by Japan as the branch chief of India to pass it on to the youngsters and also old. So it's martial arts is for everyone. So yeah, I think that's what I might have digressed a little bit from your original question. Sorry.
But can we come to the original question? If you could tell us what is in store? What is in store for the adults and for children who will be coming in the dojo? What can they expect?
Yeah. So the martial arts experience, so to speak, as I was telling you about it being deeply spiritual, for the kids, for the teenagers, that may not make much sense, right? But what they're probably interested in is being in the finest physical condition possible. And at the same time, what the dojo is going to create for them in terms of the training is pushing them to the limits that they know of and expanding their comfort zone. So when I say get out of the comfort zone, it's actually nothing but putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation so that once you conquer it, that actually becomes your extended comfort zone. So I think for the youngsters, what we've tried to do is keep it light and keep it very intense. And also, we have divided the space into a training area, and then we have a lounge area. So obviously, after the hard training, we want that camaraderie. We want people to just relax and have conversations, which is not happening today that much. and people are more inclined towards spending time on their gadgets, including myself. So I want to have that space where people can come down. We're going to have a small library. People can read. People can exchange ideas, discuss. We can watch the old tournaments. We've got a nice setup in terms of making it a cool place, and we want it to appeal to a multi-generation audience. So for the people who are at a certain stage of their life where they're looking for something more than just a very strong midsection and six pack and all of that, that's how it starts, right? Everything is very tangible in terms of the physical realm. When you're doing 100 push-ups, obviously your arms are going to look different in a couple of weeks. So that's the first. Actually, that's interestingly how martial arts is structured. You can't start off by saying that I want to experience Zen or whatnot. But it's just that drill every day, and you get lost into it. As I was using the word, immerse yourself into it. Then at some point, you just feel that okay, this is it. I'm part of something bigger. So it's a higher level of consciousness, so to speak. So I think the kids are going to love it. I want to have that platform where they are not being technically compromised. Like when I started karate, it was very enthusiastic. Definitely, even my teacher might have been teaching me very enthusiastically, but we were doing the mistakes in the technique over and over again. We were training hard, but we were not training perfectly. So to quote my teacher, Mr. Judd Reed, who I'll talk about later, he always says, perfect practice makes perfect. So if you end up practicing the wrong thing over and over again, then you're shortchanging yourself. And when you really need that technique, it's going to fail you. Or when you're in a life and death situation and you need to escape, if you're doing the wrong technique, you're going to be in trouble. So I think I want to have the platform where people come in and they train and they're not learning anything any different from how it would be taught in Japan or Australia or North America or wherever it is. So when they look at the Indian kids, whether we go to the tournaments or the seminars, they should really be like, wow, these guys, they're up there with the rest of us or even better. Today, unfortunately, that's not the case. There's a big gap between our level of technical understanding and then the level internationally. And that's there in a few other sports as well. And I'm glad that it's being, bridged quite rapidly. Even in athletics, where we were traditionally lagging behind, we've closed that gap. So I think these sort of initiatives, like what we're trying to do, a lot of people have invested their resources in terms of time and money to groom that next champion, to groom the next Olympic medalist. In fact, even my college principal, he had this very ambitious target to have somebody from his university represent at the Olympics. And I think he's already had pretty good success because he's had 4 or 5 Olympians from our own university representing in swimming and tennis. So that's the intent, and I think people are going to experience that high level of training. The children, I'm going to be starting with something very basic and at the same time engaging, and it will help them to develop their willpower, their discipline, and over time, they're able to implement that in every aspect of life, not just in the karate training. So that's why we're doing this in the first place, so that we can take that training, the experience of that hardship or suffering, and we can deal with any situation in life. So if you've been able to train for a tournament, preparing for an exam is no big deal. So those sort of things, and for people like me, I think we all have this very difficult 9 to 6 kind of lifestyle, and a lot of our life is governed by our job and our responsibilities towards our job. So I think I want to give people this opportunity to come in and unwind. And basically, that dojo is like a sacred space where they can completely forget about whatever it might be that's bothering them, or whatever difficulties they may be going through. And at the end of it, they're going to sweat it out. So automatically, we're just flushing out all that baggage and negativity from your mind, and you're going to feel good at the end of the session. So I think it'll be a reset. So I want to have this place as a lifestyle option, place for the kids to come in and learn a traditional art form. Then even it's not restricted that only a certain age group needs to walk in. I want to make it very available for people who are much older than me, who may not be able to do things like kick over their head. I want to have something which can be done easily by everybody. So I think the way we're structuring the training is by having options like Tai Chi, Iken, and Qigong, which essentially deals with the energy system of the body. So there's the physical element, which is going to be absolutely catering to the youngsters, and obviously people trying to get into shape. And part of that is developing the mental strength to cope with all of that. And for the people who are looking for a slightly deeper experience, the energy aspect of it, or the what do you call the basically the central nervous system is going to be calmed down, and it's going to be a place where, through integration of your breathing, your physical movement, and your mental state of mind, you can actually feel much better and take it forward.
Okay. You seem to have traveled a lot also, in your pursuit to discover more martial arts. Can you take us through that journey a little?
Yeah, sure. So I got extremely lucky, I would say, in terms of my travels. And some of the travel was driven through my professional deputations or my assignments abroad. So I got a chance to train in Japan thrice, which is obviously the motherland where it all started. And training in Japan was an eye opener for me, because I got to go to Japan the first time maybe 10 years after I'd actually started my karate training. And it was like, it was a double edged sword, where I also realized how much of a gap there was in between what they were trying to tell us and what we were doing. And I really respected that the Japanese at that point, during the instructors camps, were so sincere in trying to bring everybody's level to one streamlined alignment. So they just did simple things like basics, how what kind of stance to maintain, how you move forward and back, how you make the transition between the stance. No fancy stuff, but just the way they drilled it and the attention to detail, that made me realize that there's something deeper here. It's not just about throwing a punch, throwing a kick, and knocking somebody out. It's about developing a control over your body, and that in time, when you get into that level of detail, obviously builds up something up between the years. And the main teacher in Japan, his name is Kansho Royama. He says that real karate starts at 50 years of age. So until then, you're just doing the preparation. So essentially, what he's trying to hint at is that the spiritual part of it really begins once you have enough experience with it all. So even if it's something as simple as a stance, there's so much of detail into it that you cannot get it by just somebody explaining it to you and you practicing it for 1 hour. And you have people saying, no matter how hard I try, I'm not able to do this. But their definition of how hard I try would probably be 1 hour for 2 or 3 days. Whereas in Japan, when they say I tried hard, it would probably be 6 months of drilling only that, nothing else. So that mindset and that appreciation for the detail, I think, is what I took back from there.
So I'm going to now get into the economics of things also. What about the funding? How has the journey to launching this been? Because at the end of the day, it is while there is a lot of passion, there is also economics that's going to be involved. Has the road been easy to launching your dojo? How did you come about it?
I would say that it's still early days because we've had two major setbacks, not just us, but the entire globe has been suffering with the pandemic. And that's obviously delayed the launch of the dojo. And we were not able to even do any work at site in terms of getting the space set up. So we have experienced a lot of delay in setting this up. And in terms of the economics of it, see, I don't think that this place, yes, of course, we want to live in a very self-sustainable model. But definitely when Uma Maheshwar, the partner in this dojo business, is basically not going for the quantity but looking at quality. So it may take a little more time. This approach may take a little more time in terms of the payback because we both invested into the space. So if you want to create an interior, because my background is basically interior design, where somebody walks in and they are grabbed in and they're able to transcend from their normal life outside and they feel that they're in some special place. The mind is decluttered and all of that. So we did spend a lot of our resources, and my background in interior design definitely helped, and he also was very, very cohesive the way he worked with me. So we went to a great length to make the whole environment give whoever walks in a feeling that, wow, I'm somewhere else right now. So the mind is decluttered, and when they start the training with the, it's very ritualistic, and we're doing a bowing and praying to the martial arts spirits and teachers. So I hope that emphasis is what actually will help to build the membership base or the student base. And over time, we're not looking at a quick ROI kind of model. We both know that it's going to be quite difficult. We're going to have to put in a lot of hours and maintain the level of training. But I think with that purity of purpose, with that sincerity, I think is what is going to be the USP and what people are going to come for. And then hopefully we can build the community of like-minded people by providing this space where, as I said in the beginning, people can interact. Right now, we don't have that. If you see people, even if you go to a gym, it's very in and out, touch and go. You do your workout and you get out. You're not really making friends there. You're not building relationships. You're not communicating. So this place, in that sense, is quite different. And I think over time, we've lost that personal touch to a large extent. So I think with this community feel, and I want to extend the place not just to Kyokushin and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's open to people to come and teach any other martial art or yoga, or we can look at different activities. But I want to create that community of artists. And I think everybody has that creative fire in them. So I think it's a matter of those minds coming together and energy kind of resonating at the same frequency. and it's bound to be commercial success will follow. That's what I would say.
Yeah, because as we see, especially in the startup sector, a lot of fitness brands have been coming up. Health, fitness have become very prominent. Startup landmarks, and what is happening is a lot of. So I want to ask you, especially, how are you striving to be different? I understand martial arts, but at the end of the day, fitness. So, what is the difference that you think? Apart from the skill that you're providing out, apart from the quality of the training that you're providing, what else do you think can, because see, especially because Bangalore has been a hub of new startups in the fitness space, what's going to be very different that people might just leave that and come here?
Yeah, I think as you said, Bangalore is the startup hub, and it's always been very strong on the tech front. And both Uma, Maheshwar, and myself, we also have a tech background in terms of the jobs that we did. So definitely, I know where you're coming from, and I appreciate that. And there have been a lot of fitness-related startups which have crept up, and of course, the big one recently we heard about Tata is acquiring the Cultfit brand. So I think first, in terms, before I get into how I want to differentiate from them, first I look at all of them and I want to learn what they did right and grab all those amazing points from them. I think they are all excellent in terms of their reliability when it comes to tech, the way they've structured their apps and their membership models and renewal models. It's extremely simple, and the reliability, as I said, is spot on. Their user experience is amazing. So I want to take in all those points from them before I get into the differentiation. And when I get to the point of having some sort of a platform, as I was talking about earlier, I think the community is what is going to be the real differentiator. Today, we have a lot of people crazy about martial arts, because martial arts is something very unlike any other sport. When you see a kid watching a fight or a movie where the people are kicking and punching, you see their eyes light up. And I think that very unique aspect about martial arts to begin with is going to help us differentiate. And hopefully we can keep ourselves financially viable to survive long enough that the community is self kind of reliant, and we can build it from there. So I'm not really looking at the model that Cult or any of these guys have taken, but I'm trying to learn from them. And as I said, the traditional aspect is what I want to highlight. Even if we do develop an app, it's going to be very, very different from just going in and not having a connect with your instructors. Because when you look at some of the current outfits which are there, they don't really identify the relationship between teacher and student, what we call in martial arts as the senpai kohai, or the relationship between senior and junior, or in Indian tradition it's called as the guru shishya parampara. I think leveraging all these traditional values, we're going to have a model which is quite different in the way it's constructed. But I think we have to learn how to survive for long enough until we break even and are able to expand things.
Japan is not the only place, right? Even China has a strong stake in martial arts, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of the journey, as I said, it started in India, and with the spread of Buddhism, it went to China initially, and an Indian monk by the name Bodhidharma. I don't know if you've heard this name before. They called him Damo. So he was actually lecturing about Buddhism and philosophy, and the monks were falling asleep. So he got really upset, and he's like, "Hey, listen, wake up, guys! You guys need to be more energetic to be able to absorb the essence of whatever I'm talking about." And then he started teaching them the 18-step method of Kung Fu. And Shaolin, I was lucky. I got a work assignment in Beijing for a month when I was with the Tata Group. So I made a nice road trip to the Shaolin Temple, which is a beautiful temple nestled in a sacred mountain. It's a must-visit place. So anyway, so it's in the northern part of the country, in the mountains. So what happened was they needed to have a very strong lower body to have the legs to climb, up and down. So you'll see that the martial arts, as it moves from geography to geography, it's influenced by so many different demographic parameters. From there, when it came down towards the what do you call it, the coast or to the riverside, the martial arts, though it's the same Chinese martial arts, if you look at Wing Chun Kung Fu, which is so popular in the southern part, it's very focused on the upper body and punches, straight punches, and not too many kicks. So because of needing to have a strong upper body when you're rowing the boat and things like that. Whereas in up north, you're riding the horse and climbing up and down. So the bio need in terms of the muscle structure also contributed. So India is where it started. I always say that everything good started in India. And of course, with Buddhism, it moved to China, Japan, Korea, the whole Far East. So it's been like it's not happened overnight. It's been over centuries that this has happened and evolved. And obviously, Kyokushin is only 1964, so not even 50 years in.
Vinayak, next future plans, if I were to ask you, if not immediate future, then maybe 5 years from now, where do you see the dojo in India?
Well, hopefully that dojo can spread all across India. And when I say spread all across India, I don't want to go in a franchisee model or any of those kind of models which are, typical. But I want people to come train here, and hopefully we have a lot of seminars and events where good martial artists, good people, because why are we doing this whole exercise of training and all that is to develop us. As I started, we started off saying that it's about self-improvement and things like that. So I hope that people come train with me and be a part of the organization in terms of the karate, but not just karate. Take in all the good stuff that is on offer here, and work together to set something up in different parts of India. So the idea is that we have a model where at the end of the day, it's percolating down to the next generation, irrespective of whether they're training at my dojo or somebody who's learned from me or somebody who's my senior even. I just hope that the standard can be maintained. So I really don't have that model in my head that I want to have 100 satellite dojos right now, or we actually spoke about this at in one of the meetings that Uma and I had, whether we want to be having even within Bangalore, one in HSR where we are right now, and then maybe different parts of the city. So I think what we want to do, if this goes right, have a more central location but a bigger space, and have it accessible to the entire city. So somewhere downtown, around MG Road, if you're familiar. So we want to have a big setup, and definitely that requires a bigger scale of investment and stakeholders. So that's, I think, the vision that both of us have. And if we can do that right, then obviously, if we can do it right in Bangalore, we can do it right in different parts of South India and North India. And in fact, martial arts is so big in India. I'm sure you know that. Even Calcutta, where we have a very famous teacher who shares your last name. So he spent a lot of time in Japan with Masuyama. So even there, it's really popular. So my hope is that this model, where, as I said, it's not about having X number or anything like that. It's about that quality and having a space which can give the experience to people who walk in and train.
All right. So now I'm going to ask you some final two questions.
Yeah.
During this COVID situation that we all are in, the pandemic has taught us a lot about mindfulness. Certainly, mindfulness, mental health has become such an important topic. Today, through the conversation, we have spoken a lot about the spirituality aspect of martial arts. Can you tell me a little more about it? How do people gain when they come to the dojo in their mental health space?
Yeah, sure. I think what we've all realized in this last 1 year, especially, is how precious breath is, so to speak. Breathing, which is so fundamental to our existence, we've taken it for granted. And we go about our day without paying too much thought to the basic process of breathing in and breathing out. And COVID made us it took something like COVID to make us realize how important our lung health is actually. Because it's just one small virus, but it's enough to make us bedridden, or in a matter of a few days, especially with the second wave, in a matter of 1 or 2 days, we see the difference between life and death. So I think all of us, firstly, got an opportunity to introspect with this COVID downtime, so to speak. A lot of us are working from home. So work-life balance took a new meaning, firstly. Because we were so consumed, especially in Bangalore, where we deal with the daily traffic. We have a 2-hour commute to work and 2-hour commute back home. We're losing 4 hours of our life. 1/6 of the day is gone in the commute. And obviously, that's going to be very frustrating because it's bumper to bumper traffic. So that was the normal. Now, today, we've got this time out, so to speak, where we were sitting at home. And obviously, that came with its own stress in terms of IT guys saying that they're working even harder at home rather than the office, and they don't have any distractions being at home. But finally, they were able to be with their families, and work-life balance took on some sort of a new meaning in the last 2 years. Going forward, what normal do we want to go back to is something that we need to be really thinking hard about. Do we want to go back to the madness in terms of being absolute victims in terms of how we are working, how we are balancing our activities, whether it comes to our own personal lives as individuals, to societies, to our nuclear family, and all of that. So I think this dojo space is giving people a platform for developing a new normal, to having some sanity in their life. They can come and step in and they can disconnect for a while, train in this utopian space where there is no differentiator in terms of what is somebody's lifestyle, education, financial status, and all of that. No, we're not really interested in it. But when you're training, everything is totally exposed, so to speak. You're totally in a sense naked when you're against the wall, when you're facing a tough opponent. You can't hide. So I think that's something which I'm trying to be very conscious about, and give people that opportunity to be able to, as I said, disconnect. And when you disconnect, you can actually recharge. So if you some of our Indian gurus, they often say that the difference between the ultimate state of realization and deep sleep is a fine line, right? So the reason being that when you disconnect, when you sleep, when you go into a deep slumber, you're totally disconnected. That's when you're recharging. Same way, when you're training, that is the disconnect from the daily struggle and so to speak. So this is the premise on which the dojo is being built, and I hope that people like it when they walk in and train together with me.
Sure, they will. And that brings me to the last part of our interview today. If I were to tell you that in the next 30 seconds, you have 30 seconds to do this 30-second pitch and invite people to the dojo, what would you say? All the audience are watching, so please do.
I think it's all about action, So martial arts is action. It's not about words. So I want you to come in and experience it. So I am 100% sure that when you walk in and train and you feel that sweat on your forehead, you're going to feel that this is something that I can do. That, it's not something anyone can take away from me, not something I can buy in the market, the experience, so to speak. So I would say experience the action. And these are things which you cannot get reading a book or YouTube, because today everybody is a keyboard warrior. So come in, train with us, experience the energy, and then realize that this energy, you have it and you can make it part of you. You can develop yourself in so many different ways. Is that 30 seconds?
That's, I think, a little less than 30 seconds, but that's the beauty of it, in achieving that in less than 30 seconds. But thank you so much, Vinayak. It was lovely speaking to you. And I'm going to leave your email ID and some details, because when people will want to follow up and inquire about the dojo, they can straight away come to you. So yeah, that's us signing up from Daydreamers with Himika, and all the best for the dojo. I hopefully will travel to Bangalore someday in the near future, and whenever I do, please let me come and have a look and maybe do a class.
Sure. I would really look forward to seeing you and train with you. And hopefully, you can take back the experience and train every time you come to Bangalore with me. Thanks a lot.
I will. Thank you so much.
As we say in our dojo, os. That's the way we greet each other.
Os. Okay.
Yeah.
Os. Bye.
Thanks.